Hello friends. In this clip I want to talk about diagnosis. As a psychotherapist, I must say that diagnosis should not happen in one session. It is not like everything is under control and everything is clear. The first thing to consider in psychotherapy is that we cannot start our work until the diagnosis is made. And the diagnosis is likely to take 10 to 15 sessions. Why should we start working early? A terrible event or a very difficult incident or the person's lack of trust in the psychotherapist and many other issues cause the client not to tell us the truth in the initial sessions, or to tell us those issues that have a much smaller impact on the client. See them as the reason for referring to psychotherapy. You can see this in the client's behavior, who does not show much interest in treatment, is not very enthusiastic about treatment, and usually leaves treatment after a while. Because you were not very persistent, you did not put much effort into making the correct diagnosis. The second error in diagnosis is that the person comes to us with the same reason for which she came and asks us to give her a diagnosis. It is very likely that the client herself does not really know what her problem is. She thinks that her problem is something else, focuses on it and says that this is my problem, and you should provide me with services in this case. You should not pay too much attention to the exact diagnosis that the person gives herself, and consider all the details for further examination. Go ahead part by part. You should proceed calmly and not rush to make a diagnosis. Try to find the main cause, or the root of the disorder. Build trust and work on the client's general issues. After a while, you will notice that the client is showing clues about her disorder through her words. Where does the main source of the disorder lie? And you should help the client reach the main problem with that clue, step by step, with the client. There are many unspoken things that may not start until after the third or fourth session. You should have a notebook to write down the points, and before the client comes, you should definitely study. You should think a lot about the clues. You should live with a referral. And psychotherapy is not a simple or effortless task, and it is not easy to achieve. What allows us to do our job well is the correct diagnosis. Sometimes clients come to us because of depression or anxiety, but it is not depression or anxiety that we need to treat. Rather, it is the false beliefs. Those false meanings behind these depressive behaviors that cause depression. We need to work on them. Sometimes clients say, "I don't know, but my mom says it. My dad says it," and it is not the client's own belief. We need to start the analysis by looking at the problem from the side that has influenced the client to get that false belief. Take this clue and continue. For example, tell them what your father says, what your mother says, and plan a complete analysis. And be sure that where the origin of that belief is destructive, it comes to the conclusion that this meaning is not for the individual himself. Now, in whatever way it was created within the client, you must understand why and how that person created this destructive belief, or what this belief is and how it causes destruction. Sometimes, for example, this belief is not from the mother, but from her mother's father, who reached the mother, and from there to our client. And try to have your client as a third party with you and analyze the mother or the mother's father, or whoever else created that belief. Many meanings are passed down from one generation to another, from the mother to the father or grandparents. Do not be afraid in any way until you find the root cause of the creation of this belief. You cannot make a correct diagnosis when the client himself did not create the destructive beliefs. How can we say that this belief was wrong or reach this diagnosis? So with these discussions, it became clear how much more complicated diagnosis is than we have been taught. To more easily find clues to these misconceptions in the family, look for other people in the family who share these beliefs. Consider trauma, serious injuries that have occurred in the family over several generations, mental illness that runs in the family, and even physical illnesses such as migraines, digestive problems, rheumatoid arthritis, MS, and other illnesses, specific characteristics such as obsessive habits, strange behaviors, and what others think of the parents or family. Another important thing in diagnosis is that whenever you realize after making a diagnosis that you did not make a complete diagnosis, go back to whatever treatment you have done and continue the new treatment based on the new diagnosis. Just friends, never forget that we don't know many things. Not everything is supposed to be 100% perfect. We all make mistakes. It's important to do our best. Don't let your perfectionism turn into fear and make you helpless and helpless. Remember, you are the psychotherapist who should help clients. You may not be very perfect. And if a psychotherapist cannot help clients with mental disorders, no one else can. Thank you very much for watching this video of mine. I would be very happy if you subscribe to my channel, Effective Psychotherapy. Please help me with your criticisms, comments, and suggestions so that I can use more of your knowledge and experiences and become a better psychotherapist. God bless.